This is Gail Kovac for Gresham Barlow School District. This is Summer School, High School Credit Recovery, Algebra 1A, and Learning Target number 8. I can use standard form to graph linear equations. So we just learned how we can graph a line when it's in y equals mx plus b, or standard form with a given slope and a y-intercept. But in this case, we have equations that are not in that form. It's not y equals with a slope and a constant. Now, one thing you could do is use your algebra magic to rearrange this equation so that y is solved for and then graphed, which is something we'll do in the next learning target. But you can actually just graph an equation of a line when it's in this form. That's 3x plus 2y equals 8. So that's the x's plus the y's equal to the constant on the other side. So here's the way that I do this. To graph a line, all you need are 2 points. That's it. And then that will define the entire line. So some points that can be easier to find is the x-intercept, or where the line crosses the x-axis, and the y-intercept. That's where the line crosses the y-axis. Those can be a little bit easier because there's some zeros that happen. On the x-axis is anywhere where y is equal to 0. And anywhere on the y-axis is where x is equal to 0. So we can input some values of 0 for x and then for y, and that'll make some terms drop out. It'll be a little bit easier. Let me show you. I'm going to start by let's find the x-intercept. So remember, at the x-axis here, this is where y is equal to 0. You see on the y-axis, that's at 0. So let's imagine now that we turn our y into a 0. This will become 2 times 0, and anything times 0 is just 0. So essentially, that's making the y term drop out. And now we have a very simple equation to solve. 3x equals 8. The one step I need to do to solve this is divide each side by 3. Multiply by 3 and divide by 3 are opposites and cancel. X will be equal to 8/3, and I'm going to use my calculator to approximate that as a decimal so I know where to put my point on my number line. 8 divided by 3 is 2.6, or 2.7 if you round up approximately. So here's my approximately equal sign. So x is approximately equal to 2.7. That means I'm going to put a dot on the x-axis at almost 3. 2.7 is going to be right about there. So now I've already found one out of my 2 points. So that's finding the x-intercept. You turn y into 0. Now let's do the opposite way. I'm going to find now my y-intercept. So here's my y-axis, and anywhere on the y-axis is where x is equal to 0. If x is equal to 0, this equation up here becomes 3 times 0. And 3 times 0 is just 0. It's essentially like this part drops out. And now we have a much easier equation right here to solve. I'll do it down here. 2y equals 8. That's a one step to solve for y. To get rid of the coefficient, multiply by 2, we're going to divide each side by 2. Times by 2 and divide by 2 are opposites and cancel. Y will be equal to 8 divided by 2, which is a whole number this time. It's 4. So that means on the y-axis, I'm going to put a point at 4. Right there. There's my 2 points, and I'm just going to draw a line straight through those. And there you go. So you could later find out that your y-intercept was 4 and what the slope is, but you don't really need to do that. You can use these x and y intercepts to solve for x and y on those axes, and then just draw your line that way. Let's try it again for the next problem. All right, I'm going to start with my x-intercept. Really, you could start with the y as well, it doesn't matter. On this x-axis is all places where y is equal to 0. So I'm going to find my y, that's going to turn into 0, and negative 4 times 0 is just 0. So let's scratch out that y part. All right, so now I've got a one-step equation to solve here. 3x will equal negative 8, and I'm going to divide each side by 3. This just happens to be the same computation we did over on the previous problem. X will be equal to, in this case now it's going to be negative 2.7, and that's approximately equal to negative 2.7. That was 8 divided by 3. All right, so then on the x-axis, about negative 2.7. 1, 2, almost at the negative 3 there. All right, so there's one out of my 2 points. Let's find the other one. And let me erase that, because now we're going to be crossing out the x instead. All right, now I'm going to find where the line's going to cross the y-axis. That is all points where x is equal to 0. So if x is equal to 0, that becomes 3 times 0, which is 0. Bye-bye. And now I've got a much easier equation to solve right down here. Negative 4y equals negative 8. One step to get rid of that coefficient, I'm going to divide each side by negative 4. I'm not going to add 4 because the negative 4 and the y are being multiplied together. So I need to undo by dividing by negative 4. And I'll do that to both sides. All right, y is going to equal negative 8 divided by negative 4, which is 2. So on my y-axis, I'm going to put a point right here at 2. There's my y-intercept. And I've got 2 points. 2 points to find a line. That's all I need. It's going to look something like that. So problems like these, you can rearrange the equations to be in the y equals form, or you can just set x to 0, plot your y point, set y to 0, plot your x point, and draw your line in between the 2 points.